Hello, everybody. Welcome to Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life. Today, I have a very special guest with us. We have business bestie, friend to the show, for those of you who have followed us all the way through our journey as a web show to now being part of the Win-Win Women Network. You will know Barb Prichard of Infinity Brand Design. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about how to live your life in a smarter, easier, more fun, flowy way. The way to grow your business and share with your ideal clients in a way that really, really is easy, but also attracts the right people to be a part of your sphere. So I want to welcome Barb. Barb, would you hop right on and just introduce yourself to everybody, share with everybody who you are and what exactly it is that you do in the world?
Hey, BFF. Hi, world. I'm Barb Prichard, CEO of Infinity Brand Design, and I help spiritual entrepreneurs own your magic and infuse it into every client interaction that you have with your business through soul aligned branding, websites, book covers, and sales pages and sales funnels. And I just love it because I'm all about marrying strategy with spirit because I feel like that's just what the world needs right now and to make it more soul aligned to you, right?
Absolutely. So we're going to dive really deeply into this idea of not just like you like to say, and I shared it with everybody a little bit earlier, like you like to say, you don't have to look under every nook and cranny. You don't have to dig under rocks or anything like that to find your ideal clients, the kinds of people who, when you work with them, you feel like you're lighting up, like it's really an outstanding experience to just get together with these people. You don't have to search so hard for them. It doesn't have to be difficult. And that's what our show is all about, just how to, with ease and flow, grow our businesses. And so Barb's going to dive really deeply into that with us today. But before we go into that, I'd love for you, Barb, to share a little bit with us about what you have been doing, what you find to be helpful for you for self-care, because we don't want to ever neglect that piece of the puzzle as we're going forward growing our businesses. We also want to make sure that we're paying attention to the live your optimal life part of things. And so what's been going on with you? What have you been doing for fun when it comes to self-care? What's something that is on your non-negotiable list?
You know what? It's funny. I feel like 2022 has been my year to really shift that focus back to me because I've realized how important self-care is. I mean, burnout is a serious thing. It's a very real thing. And so something I'm making sure that I do is I close that laptop at night now. And I close it on the weekends as much as I can, unless I'm playing a video game.
I'm
But I
so
like,
shocked.
you're so shocked, I know. But I really love just taking time out in the mornings to, just meditate, get some me time, join, just connect with spirit, and then kind of just set the intention for the day. Hello, April. It's good to see you here. And I love doing that, but I also feel like just getting out and connecting in the world is just it's something that I need to just get that fresh air, commune with nature, get out of the house and just have some good time with my hubby.
Get out of the house and have some good times with your hubby. You heard it here first, guys. That's really a great way to stay in touch with the live your optimal life side of things. So let's talk about this idea of growing your business smarter, this idea that you really don't have to be searching for your ideal clients, for your optimal clients, for the people who are meant to work with you, that you actually have a better idea, make yourself visible so that they
Mhm.
can find you. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that kind of strategy works?
So this is totally a divine download that came to me. And spirits, I feel like, has been tapping me on the shoulder for like a year, just been like, hey girl, let's shift things a little bit. Let's do things a little bit differently. Because I'm naturally an introvert. And I think a lot of business owners can relate to that. Just kind of, you don't want to be seen. You don't want to put yourself out there. But when it comes to your business, you kind of have to. That's kind of the point of your business, to be visible. So what I realized from my own standpoint was whenever I really just kind of started owning who I am and stepping into my fullness, my full self, owning my own magic, as I say it, um, it became magnetic. It was really mind blowing how fast it happens when you step into that. You really kind of own it. Like, what does that mean to you? It can mean something different to everybody, but for me, it meant owning my woo woo walk. I mean, my mom's called me old weird Barb since I was knee high to a grasshopper. So I've been told for ages that I'm an old soul. So, and also I've noticed too that intuition, the intuitive gift runs on my mom's side, on the women on my mom's side. And so I've always kind of felt like I've been in tune with spirit, God, whatever you may call it. And it's something that I also learned to kind of just stifle, to shove it down into a box and compartmentalize. And that's a big part of who I am. So, you go into corporate, you want corporate success, you want to, um, fit in, conform, if you will, right? It feels like you have to round out some of those edges. I mean, I can remember before I went to college and then after I went to college and, it was time to get out there in the corporate world and get the job. And my mom, who let me just kind of preface this with my mom has always been a huge supporter of individuality, and she wanted her girls to be able to form their own opinion, have their own opinion, and share that respectfully. But when it came to going out into the real world and getting a real job and all that, the thing I heard her say the most was, "You're going to have to conform, little girl." And she's coming at saying this from a place of love because, that's her perspective. That's what she knew. She went into the corporate world. She was in accounting for years, and that's what she knew. She knew that old weird Barb was going to have a hard time getting finding her place in the corporate. I eventually did, but it's something about, you know, uh, fulfilling your purpose, finding your why and understanding what that is, and stepping into that magic, as I said, that really kind of just makes you magnetic. So what I did is I started walking on my woo woo walk. I took a course to learn how to read oracle cards. It just landed in my lap. It was like my friend Robin Finney was just like a beacon of light. She had the pillar of light over her, and it was like spirit was going, "You need to connect with her." Totally did it. And the dominoes just kept falling after that. So I started kind of shifting my language and how I talked about my services and who I want to serve. And I started talking, sprinkling in some of those words that I felt aligned with my audience, and specifically talking about magic and transformation and things like that for my particular audience anyway. And I became magnetic. It's really, really remarkable at how that happened. So I really feel like I mean, we hear this buzzword authenticity a lot right now, but I feel like there's something to it. I mean, just you can only be yourself. Why bother trying to be anybody else? It's so much easier being yourself, showing up as yourself, and people will like you or they don't. And if they don't, we're not meant to be, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But those who are aligned with you, they know you're a beacon to them, right?
So, Barb, that's a great story and all, right? You were in corporate, your mom told you that you needed to fit in. You tried that fitting in thing. It was not you being your authentic self. You started to embrace other sides of you, your magic, the things that you find to be spiritual, and suddenly things shifted and your whole life changed. That's great. And for those of us who we're just stepping into this idea of being our full selves to attract the clients that are right for us, how do we translate your story into our lives and developing a brand that is magnetic for us and our clients?
That's the beautiful thing is we all have our own story. So I call it your magic story. It's a defining moment in your life that basically it's where your strength is forged in fire. This is where you drew a line in the sand and either you started doing something or you stopped doing something. Doesn't necessarily have to be anything that is traumatic or anything like that. It can be. For example, my story, um, my big story, my big magic story is it's linked to tragedy or trauma. However, you focus on the healing, you focus on the learning points, the growth that you got from that. And it's interesting, as I have shared my story more and more, um, I'm finding there's even more healing and more growth to come out of this story. But basically, you surface that magic story, and you find there's 4 points to it. You find the struggle. This is basically where, it's the struggle. It's where, what are you having a problem with? What's going on? Then you look at the turning point. The turning point is basically like where you're like, oh, okay, hello. That's the line in the sand. Then the realization. The realization is your magic. That's where your magic lives. It's what aha moment came to you to make you realize this is it. I'm not doing this anymore. Or this is it. I'm going to do this from here on out. And then the fourth part is connection. How does that realization that you had, your magic, how does that connect with your audience? How can you relate that? So, if I may, let me share my magic story. My particular magic story is when I was 19 years old and I was just about to graduate college. It was time to send out my college invitations. So, one in particular was extra special. It was to my father. And now my father was inconsistent in my life, to say the least. I mean, that's just putting it nicely. So this one, I have to give this up to Spirit. It's Spirit showing up and showing out, because 19-year-old Barb didn't know what the heck she was doing by any means. So I felt compelled to write an extra letter, put a letter in this particular invitation. So I did. And in this letter, I wrote very specific details, minutia of things that I never shared with not my mom, certainly not my sister, because I knew they would talk to my father. You can see where this is kind of going. Sent the letter, graduation came, he didn't show up, not unexpected, but Father's Day was just a couple of weeks after that. And my sister, who is a very dutiful daughter, I love her, she was like, Barb, let's go. Come on, gotta go. And I didn't kick and scream this time. I was like, it's on. So I went down there, visited with them, and had a good time. I mean, went and had lunch. And it was interesting because we passed a car lot. And in that car lot was the car that I had mentioned that I wanted specifically. It was a kind of a teal green Mercury Cougar. It was a brand new model. It was gorgeous, like really super sporty. I wanted that car. And he was like, is that the car you're looking for? And I was like, huh, yeah, it sure is. It sure is. Nobody knew this, by the way. This is in the letter. And my sister's giving me that side eye, like, what do you talk about? What's going on here? And let's not even forget to mention that I also included my very first business card in there too. And you walk in and you see it on the mantle, because I had my face on it. My hair was bright red then too. You couldn't miss it. So obviously he got the invitation. Well, again, Spirit showing up and showing out gave me a very rare opportunity that day to get some alone time with him. And turned out this was the last time I was actually going to see him ever. Got some alone time with him. We were standing out on the front porch, and he was leaning over the railing, kind of had his shoulders like bunched up. He was leaning over and looking. Sunset was gorgeous. It was beautiful. It was full of pinks and oranges and purples. It was beautiful. I still remember it. I still see it. And he was just marveling at it, just leaning over as far as he could to absorb as much as he could of it. And before I could even stop myself, again, thank you, Spirit. Dad, did you get my invitation? Time stopped. Seriously. Now, let me also say this too, is little Barb, young Barb, never would have confronted anybody. That's just not who I was. I was very timid. I was kind of pretty shy and didn't want to rock the boat. And at least in that area, especially when it came to him, time stopped. The world just stopped moving, got real still. You saw his shoulders just fall down, and he like sucked in his breath, like, and I saw his knuckles get white. Like he gripped really hard on the railing, and he whispered, no. This man was a giant of a man to me. And it was just interesting to see how small he looked at that point. I saw this man for who he was, y'all. I tried for years to get this man's attention, affection, acceptance. And I learned at that point, this was my realization right here. I learned at that point that me conforming to what I thought he needed me to be accepted by him was all for naught. He wasn't worthy of my time. He wasn't worthy of my affection, my energy, any of that. And he sure as heck wasn't worthy of those tears anymore. So at that point, I learned, be me. I don't have to round out my edges anymore to be appreciated, to be loved. My people appreciate me. They know me. They once they interact with me, they know me. They get to see who I really am, and we're like friends for life, right? Um, yeah, and that's kind of how it relates to in business too. You don't have to round out your edges. Be you, be all you, because you will magnetically attract your audience to you. And whatever story that you have to tell, I promise you, people want to hear it. They need to hear it because they can relate to your story in one way or another. Maybe it's not exactly, maybe they don't have a daddy story like I do, or maybe they've got a different story with you know, whatever, with religion or mom or whatever that is. They can relate to it in one way, shape, or form. And it just really, that vulnerability goes a long way too. It's like you're bearing your soul to these folks and opening yourself up, because it takes a lot of bravery, right? To be so open and to share those pains and those hurts, but you're really showing and sharing the growth, the learning that you got from that. And to me, that's powerful stuff. I'm over here getting the chills.
That's so important that you share this really deep, meaningful story, something that is certainly has formed your life and made you into the person that you are, but it's kind of vulnerable of you to share this story. Are you saying, Barb, that as we are, getting out there in the world and sharing about our businesses, that we need to share these sorts of vulnerable stories as well?
Yes, I absolutely think so, because we all have them. I mean, again, I'm going to go back to my mom. I love her to death. She's wonderful, but she's a baby boomer and she's coming from the era where you don't share this stuff. You keep it bottled up. You present a certain way, right? And you don't show your weakness. At least that's how she was anyway. That's weakness in her world kind of got you eaten up, right? I don't think that's the case now. I think now people need that vulnerability. I think people need to hear these stories because there's a shift going on in the world right now. And part of that is opening up and just being real with folks and saying, look, this is what happened to me. I don't know if it relates to you, but if it does, let's connect. Let's talk. Maybe we can just hang out and be friends. Maybe we can collaborate together. Maybe we can share our stories in a different way or whatever that resonates. But it's really about locking arms with one another and going, you're not alone in this. You are not alone in this. Yes, you've been hurt. Yes, you've gone through stuff. But there's a way to infuse that learning, that magic that defined you, that empowered you, emboldened you, and sprinkle that into your client interactions, whether it be through certain words that you use to describe, maybe just even sprinkling throughout your copy on your website, your sales pages, um, social media posts, even your blogs or anything along those lines. It's telling that story and being open to hearing others as well. I think that's another key element as well.
Yeah, I think sometimes we really do believe that we are alone and that we're
Yeah.
the only ones who've been through the struggles that we have been through. And that as we share more about our experiences, because we're just humans having experiences, as we share more, everybody comes to the realization that, hey, I'm not alone. You went through something too, and it might not be exactly the same,
Yeah.
but it's similar enough that we can see each other in each other and see the
Yes.
similarities and make connections based on that. So as we're getting into this idea of being more magnetic with our branding and sharing in a more authentic way, what are some of the do's and don'ts that you would suggest?
You know what I would say is to take the time first and figure out your magic story. Do that. Take the time and be vulnerable. And it could take you, I mean, there's no time limit on this, right? It's a matter of diving deep and feeling into it. But first, actually, what it would say a big do is meditate and invite spirit in to help you find that magic story that will resonate. Go with your intuition, follow your gut. That first story that comes up, or the one that really just, ooh, you feel it, it you know when you've hit the right one, you're going to have that oof, that feeling. Invite spirit to show you that, and then get it out. Like, just write it out. If you have to, if you like pen and paper, go that route. Something I love to do is open up Google Docs and click on the voice typing, and I just talk it out. Get that story out of you. Then you go back and define it. Like, find those 4 points. Find the struggle, find the turning point, find your realization, and then create the connection and how that story, your magic lives in that realization. Find how that magic connects to your ideal client. Are there certain words that you can use to describe that connection? For me, it's sprinkling words like magic and transformation and evolution and things like that into copy that I use, the way I talk about my services and all of that. Those are like little like flags, like, hey, I'm here. Hello.
I love that. I've been taking notes while you have been talking because this is really interesting and perhaps a different way of approaching branding from the traditional, certainly different from what I learned in the textbooks. So, what you're suggesting is that instead of using all the buzzwords that are being suggested, or looking to see what hashtags are trending or all of this other stuff, instead going within and maybe in meditation, inviting spirit to point us in the direction of the actual story in our lives, because we all have so many stories, the actual story that is the next story of connection with us and our client. And then you're saying, if I'm getting you right, that we need to get the story out, however we do it, whether it's writing, using voice to text, Google Docs, whatever, and then go back and define the struggle, the turning point, the realization, and figuring out how that story makes a connection with your audience. Did I get it right?
You got it. You got it. And that's only the beginning. There's still more steps that you can take to sprinkle in, you and your magic into your branding. You could use those words that come up for you. You can define it. So I've got actually a freebie that folks can use to check off the words that resonate with how they want their clients to feel when they interact with your brand. And that's any interaction. I say branding, I mean, it's so much more than your logo. It's so much more than that. It's every interaction that clients have. So you can define your magic and how you want your clients to feel when they interact with your brand. And then the fun part, at least for me, because I'm very visual, then the fun part is using those definitions that you create, use those words that you assign, and you go into Pinterest and you can find visuals that will align with it. And then this is where spirit, I love this whole process, because spirit's still with you in this whole journey. If you invited spirit in, which I do when I work with every client of mine, we invite spirit in to guide the entire process. If spirit's showing up on your Pinterest board, you're going to come up with something that you didn't even expect. I mean, it's really remarkable. You may have an idea in mind. Spirit's going to have something else for you. I'm quite positive of that. And then it's going to be even bigger, better, bolder, and even more aligned.
I love that. One of the things that I should mention to our audience is that I have personally worked with Barb, and she has been, I think, just such a tremendous support to us in terms of getting our brand aligned with spirit in mind. She definitely designed the cover of our Grow Smarter book, and she also designed the covers of books for some of our clients as well. And so we have really done a lot of work with you, and we've seen in truth and in fact that these steps that you're outlining, they do work and they do magnetize the right people to you. We've also seen that, the people that you're not meant to work with, and there are no wrong or right, good or bad clients, but there's some that you work better with than
Mhm.
others. And those that are not exactly your ideal clients, they're not going to be attracted by this sort of way of branding yourself. They're not going to be the ones attracted, the ones that are going to be pulled in, the ones that are going to be magnetized. They are the ones who resonate with your authentic story. So I think that's really a very important point to make.
Mhm.
Barb,
Mhm.
I know you have a free gift that you would like to offer to all of our viewers today. Would you mind sharing what that is?
Yes, I would love to. So, as I mentioned before, I have a free guide. It's basically going to walk you through how to surface that magic story. And it's going to give you specific questions to answer to kind of guide you and help you define what that struggle is and all the other points to it, the turning point, the realization, and the connection. And then it's going to guide you to define your magic. Your magic is that is the je ne sais quoi that really just magnetizes you. So it's going to help you define it, and then it's going to help you find the visuals. And you can get that at soul-alignedbrand.com.
soul-alignedbrand.com. Barb, it's been such a pleasure having you here on the show. And for those of you who don't know or you're watching with us for the first time, one of the things that we do before we close the show is we like to pull a card just to bring in a beautiful thought for the day. The deck that I like to use is this book called The Sacred Rebels by Alana Fairchild. And the card that I pulled today, it's a card that I've maybe pulled once in the years of having this deck. And it says, After the Storm. I had no idea what the reason was for pulling this card, but having conversation with you today, Barb, seems to be bringing it to the fore. It says, sometimes the pressures that fuel the storms of our lives have been building up for a long time without us being fully aware of it. It might be pressure from our own minds, creating unnecessary burdens on us, such as burdens of fear or self doubt. I feel like that's really speaking to this idea of not wanting to be vulnerable, not wanting to share some of our stories that might be the thing that will connect us with the people we're meant to work with. It could be pressure to appear a certain way or to fight against life out of a mistaken belief that this is necessary for survival. Sometimes the pressure is little more than the impossible dream of perfection and a need to gently, or even with great dramatic flourish, cast that aside so that you can dare to be what you are and create from your heart. Oh my goodness.
Spirit showing up and showing
Just
out right there.
so on point. The final statement is this oracle is also confirmation that if you have been praying for help, your prayers have been heard, and the great creative intelligence of our universe is responding to you, stepping in and shaking things up so that situations can be sorted out according to a greater wisdom. So let go, hold only to your inner self, and allow everything to be cleansed by the sacred storm. What a beautiful card for today. I cannot think of a better card for us to have pulled. This was such a great conversation. If you are watching along with us live, I would invite you to just stick around and let's have some conversation right here in the Zoom after we log off. And for those of you who are watching on the replay, thank you so much. We're here at 11 o'clock every single Tuesday, and that's Eastern Time, 8 o'clock Pacific. So do tune in for the Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life show. And thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys on the next show. Bye, everyone.